Ad Hoc Committee on February 7th, 2024. I'd like to welcome everyone here, the members and the visitors. First order of business is to review the minutes from the last time this committee met and review the minutes, and at time make a motion to adopt the minutes, and then we'll move into the agenda.
I move we adopt the minutes.
I have a motion from Mr. Murphy to adopt the minutes as presented. Do I have a second? I have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Those say no. Passes 1, 2, 3. We're used to saying 4 to 5 0. All right, passes. You got that, Lori? All right, moving into our agenda. The reason I called this at this particular time here in the beginning of spring or late winter of 2024 is I don't believe the committee has met in some time. And just to get an update on some of the projects and your initiatives that you're doing with your prospective company on internet, broadband, Wi-Fi. As you guys know, it gets called 100 different things, but it's all the same, right? So I'd like to do that, and then talk about between now and I guess August what you guys have planned and how the county can work with you on that. So I'll start over here. I apologize on that, and just if you would give us what's going on in your world and update us. And come on in. You're not late. Oh, he's with you.
We, excuse me. We've been replacing poles out on the Tunnel Hill area, Old Alabama area. Mr. David there has some updates from the actual engineers on fiber install and some of the completion areas that we've been working at.
All right. Well, welcome. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, we just got started. How you doing? Good. How are you? All right. Well, there's no late fee. Just kidding. Nah, we've already accepted the minutes and moving into the agenda. And what I said is that call this meeting to kind of get an update on where you are with respects to broadband, what's going on in your world, kind of an update real quick, and then we'll get into what the next 9 months of the year is going to look like. So if you would, tell us how things are going in your world.
Well, pretty good. We're still contract. Building up. So anyway, like Shadow Valley,
Shadow Valley, okay.
all that they've turned up. Like last time I saw,
All right. So,
pretty good. So, that hired in. South. So we're big thing. Pretty good thing. But all the majority of the work that we do in
mhm.
between with that all kids are going to these people.
Yeah, password changes and stuff like that, yeah. Very good. Welcome.
The only thing I have is, in seeing how the communications to the public has changed, seems like Twin Lakes has taken over as far as websites from BEC. All the maps and everything are on the Twin Lakes site. Not very user-friendly. Maybe David can address this in his session, but it doesn't seem very user-friendly to go in and see. I mean, you have to try to sign up for service, put your address in and everything to see a map on Twin Lakes site, as far as I could tell. So maybe Twin Lakes can do something. I'm kind of surprised they're not represented at this meeting, kind of taking over stuff. But
Have they, excuse me one second, Lori, has Twin Lakes ever had a representative up here on this? No.
I mean, they're carrying the ball on a lot of this stuff, but they're not here telling us what's going on like everybody else.
We'll look into that. That's a good idea.
And but it just seems like if you go to the BEC site, it immediately transfers you to Twin Lake to find out about broadband, and trying to find out anything on the Twin Lakes site is difficult. So maybe they need to change that a little bit. It's like, for me personally, I live down on Tunnel Hill Road, and I go to the maps on Twin Lakes, and it shows me I'm in a red zone where they claim, well, money's been appropriated, you're going to be building out. But then I go to the fine print on the grant approvals, and none of that is in. My address is not in there. My road is not in there. So I'm having a hard time understanding, okay, am I going to be built out soon, or is that a mistake on the map or whatever?
Yeah.
So that's all I got.
All right, thank you. Our other representative from VEC. So whatever you guys, we got a little bit about Chatham Valley, but I'm sure you got a little bit more
So
on what you guys have accomplished.
I'll talk about the Bradley 02 project that was awarded in 2022 first, since I mentioned it.
Very good.
It was divided into 3 zones, Tasso A, Tasso B, and the third one I think was called Chestui. It was actually over along the road alongside the Chatham Valley Golf Course. And so Tasso 1 is completely finished. Tasso 2, A and B are both completely finished. Those are the ones that we've released for subscribers that he's talking about have had significant sign-ups. The zone, the third remaining zone, which is over there along the golf course, that one is still in engineering. And so we've been contracting out the engineering to Lat Engineering and letting them guys do the engineering for us. And so that one is still in engineering, which means the installation hasn't got underway yet. Lat Engineering is also working on the McDonald area, the one we're calling South Bradley. So the first of 3 zones in that area, the engineering is completely finished, and we should be putting it out to bid within the next week or 2. The other 2 zones in the South Bradley, McDonald area, they have not finished the engineering yet, but they have told us that they should be finished with it roughly a month, at which point we'll be putting those out for bid on the construction. And so I'm going to say probably by the end of March, all 3 zones in South Bradley, that McDonald area, the engineering will be complete, and some of those may even have crews allocated after the contract is.
Let me ask you a quick question. Sorry to interrupt. But when you say the end of engineering, that's not necessarily means that people can start signing up. There's still more to be that needs to be done.
Yeah. So when I talk about engineering,
Back office stuff has been done.
Right. That's essentially just laying out the design, knowing where the cabinets need to be installed, where the cables need to run, the size of the cables that need to be run, because on the main roads the cables will be bigger, and as you work your way down to the smaller back roads, it needs a smaller cable. And so they'll determine all of that, lay out the complete design. We can't actually bid it out to contract crew until the design is complete, because contract crew is supplying all the materials. They'll need to know what the engineering design calls for before they'll even be able to put in a bid to do the construction.
Right, I just didn't, our good friend over at the Banner puts at the end of the March, McDonald's done, and you got phone calls. I want my internet now.
No,
that's not the case.
Construction should be commencing, I would think, maybe sometime in April for that first zone. But no, it's not ready for release to the public. It's only the engineering work that's being done.
Very good.
So that was Bradley 2 and McDonald. Bradley 01, which was also a 2022 award. They have finished all of the construction on Owl Hollow. There was a holdup. TDOT would not allow us to string the fiber over the top of Mahan Gap. What they were doing is they were allotting something like between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. every day to work on that because they didn't want us to inhibit the traffic flow during rush hour periods. And so we were kind of hamstrung for a period of about 3 months trying to get that part of the segment completed because TDOT would not allow us to work a full 12-hour day like they were doing. And so anyway, they're telling me that that will be finished by the end of February. So we're about 3 weeks away from the Owl Hollow zone being completely done and released for subscribers. They're still working on the engineering for the other 3 zones. So those 3 zones run to the northeast toward Highway 60 along White Oak, that area.
Let me ask you, when you put it out for subscribers, do you have an idea of the potential of numbers? Are you looking for a couple of hundred or more or less?
I don't know the exact
your
figure
analysis
in
on
that.
that?
I don't know the exact figure in that zone, but we do know the exact number of houses in every single zone because we've got a count on our electric meters. So we know exactly how many potential subscribers there could be. We look for a typical take rate somewhere between 40 and 50%.
Okay.
So I'm just going to make up a number. This number's not real, but if it was 250 homes, we'd be looking for subscribership somewhere.
25. Very good.
And in some areas, we've had subscribership as high as 80%.
I'm surprised it's only 50% because people we chat with, I think most of the commissioners can tell you that we get questions all the time about when's my internet coming.
To address your point about the maps, Twin Lakes did take over the maps. It's probably been close to 2 years now. We had that crowd-funded site, crowd fiber site, I guess what they called it, that had the maps on it, and I actually had a little bit of control over that site. They gave administrator passwords that I could log in and make adjustments to it. Well, I wasn't a part of the decision. They just decided they no longer wanted to use the crowd fiber site, and that's when they migrated the maps over to the Twin Lakes website. So at this point, I don't have any say-so over what's on those maps. But if anybody has questions about the maps, I'm still keeping a copy on Google Maps. So whatever you see on the Twin Lakes site, it originates with VEC. Our engineering department creates the map and then sends it to Twin Lakes. So those polygons that you're seeing on their map are correct. So if your address is inside of one of those polygons, regardless if the state details it or not in the award information, we'll be getting it if you're inside the polygon. Matter of time if it has received an award, and if so, however long it takes for us to design and build it.
So, for example, like Tunnel Hill Road Southwest, is that in the Donald area you're talking about?
I'd have to look. I don't know for sure. I'd have to pull out the map. But if it's in one of the zones that they've classified as funded or awarded, either one, then yes, you would potentially be getting it.
Okay.
I've always felt like that, even when it was the crowd fiber site, because like he says, it can be very confusing because you've got polygons that are proposed polygons, you've got polygons that are awarded polygons, and they use a color scheme, and you have to give them your address, like he said, before it will even put the map up and show you where it is available and where it's not available. Yeah, it can be confusing. I definitely understand the complaint. I can mention it to them. I just don't really know what type of flexibility they've got.
Minute work.
I just don't know what type of flexibility they've got in manipulation of their website data.
Well, I don't mind sending a communication. I'll get with Lori and send over and just say, hey, we're getting some feedback on your maps. Any improvements would be appreciated. Lori's a great writer.
Also, one other bit of information you might want to know is when any of these construction projects, we do engineering first, then construction, and then it's released to the public.
Right.
When one of the construction projects is finally finished and the households inside of that area are able to be connected, engineering sends me a comprehensive list of every single address that can get connected. And so as soon as it's ready for purchasing for subscribership, they send me a list that has every single address on it. So if you ever had a question about a zone that is in service, whether an address is able to get connected or not, you could always reach out to me and I can tell you precisely yes or no because they've given me a list that has those addresses. That's okay, doesn't matter. I have staff, I can get them.
Anything else? All right, we'll get into more questions here in a second. Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Morning.
A lot of stuff going on in Bradley County. Surrounding areas, I can report from Spectrum that we, received 1,800 passings through the RDOF fund, and we're about 633 homes passed, built, activated,
130.
to date, and we keep working, towards obviously the 1,800 homes. And the good news there too is that in particular instances, and I'm sure it's happening here in other counties, that because we're out there enables us to be able to keep extending our plant outside of the initial grant money that we got from the federal government. So we could be looking at as high as at least a third more, close to 2,500 passings when this is all done. And again, it just keeps, the web gets wider as we go. So that's really good. And so we're making good progress there. We continue to try to get state funding, through their grant system, and areas throughout the 68 counties that we cover here in Tennessee. So, and from a technology standpoint too, I mean, we're now offering, gig symmetrical on a residential basis, and then within the next probably 24 to 36 months, we'll have 10 gig symmetrical to residential. Now, I don't know what you're going to do with 10 gig symmetrical, but that's a lot of bandwidth. But, with COVID, it pointed out the weaknesses or the areas that could be improved upon, and even, told us all how bad broadband is needed. So, through, all the things that we hear about, telemedical, people working from home, people just having a good time on the internet and what have you. So,
The people who work from home are great people.
yeah, well, I do it myself. But, and then also from another technology standpoint, all of our, not line extensions, but our new build, say subdivisions or large builds, we've gone to fiber to the home technology.
Let me ask you a question. Sorry to interrupt you on that piece there, because I'm in your area. So you got obviously some of your customers on coax.
Right.
This
The vast majority.
What is the overall plan? Just overall hot, abstract 30,000. As far as you're probably not installing anything with coax anymore. Everything from here on out is fiber. But is there any plans to go back to those that are on coax and then replace the coax with fiber?
Well, and as I alluded to earlier, there's really no reason to, because we're enhancing. We'll never's a long time, but I just couldn't imagine we would ever go back and redo, the whole system. But the enhancements that we're making, well, with 10 gig symmetrical within, 24, 36 months, man, that's a tremendous amount of bandwidth.
I mean, so you'll be able to get the throughput with coax that you
That's
get with
correct.
fiber.
That's correct. It won't have to be fiber to the home. But again, moving forward, we're going to utilize that technology. Again, not line extensions. If we're next door neighbors, that's not going to happen. But if you and I build a big subdivision, then that technology will be deployed there, fiber to the home. It's good, it's a good product, and so so it's good news. I mean, we keep expanding towards the 1,800, and that we were funded for, and anticipate,
The 1,800. What part of Bradley County are?
Well, it was, I cover 68 counties, so it's
Right.
hard for me to say exactly, but I think you described it best. Yeah.
So Spectrum's heading to water. Spectrum is headed to water level. All the way out to the Polk County line.
Mm-hmm.
In the Polk. Well, yeah. I care about Polk County, but responsibility stops at the line.
What?
So Taylor Elementary all the way out there. Okay, that's good.
got it started. Does have a carbon.
Yeah.
Yeah. 18. Oh,
Very good.
so all this
All right, that's
that means.
very good. So, well, that's kind of gives us an idea of where you guys, since the last time this committee got a little update on that. The reason why, the other reason why is, and the mayor can speak to this a little bit more, is one of the conversations that we've had over the last year or two is the ARP money that we're using to go after grants. The state, to the best of my knowledge, has not been real fast, aggressive with the grant process. We said at the time, we had a nice little meeting that night. If it got to, wanted to go after the grant money first because more bang for the buck. You know, we put up the amount of money on our side, and they match, and you can do more with the amount of money from the state. But if they're not, then we're in a situation where we want to use, allocate what we appropriated in our for the internet for our art money, call it the bucket, and go ahead and get that so that it gets appropriated and money that we tagged for broadband in Bradley County gets used. So if anybody has an update, and you guys, I know, talked to the state, I guess the governor gave his big speech the other night and all that kind of stuff, but where are we at with respects to the state and grant applications, grant awarding? Do we need to jump ship and just go with other kind of funding methodologies or whatnot? You got some stuff.
Well, I do, but it's not very useful. So I pulled this off of a news website one day last week. And so anybody that wants to see this, I've got copies on
Oh,
it.
I'm gonna give a copy to Lori so she can have it for the minutes and what you and I will sheet.
I've got 20 copies here.
Oh,
if anybody wants it.
Yeah. The banner.
Anyway, this is talking about the BEAD money, the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment money.
Broadband equity, gotcha.
So that's the money that would be given out this year in 2024 for broadband in the state of Tennessee, and they have been waiting on the rules to come down from the federal government. So essentially, Tennessee, if you flip it over to that backside, has been allocated the $813 million, and they're doing a 25-day public comment period or some such thing, at which point I think we'll finally have more information on when we can apply for the grant. So this is probably still, if you read this, still looking like they're going to be making changes until early April. So they're probably not going to be giving out money, I'm going to say, until maybe May. Now, I'm just basing this very loosely on what's written in this article. We've not been given any definitive information from the state. They sent an email out just as I was pulling in the parking lot over here, and I thought it was going to be about this information since this came out last week. It is not. It's about another last mile opportunity, but that last mile stuff is only specific to 3 defined counties. And so I don't
We're
know.
not one of them.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect you. I don't know what the counties are because this is the first I've seen of it. But they're going to be giving out that funding in the second half of February through the first half of March. That'll be the application window. But I don't think it has anything to do with this. And so I did have one more email from them that they sent yesterday. Let's see if I can find it. Bear with me. had it pulled up until they just sent that new one. The short answer is they still haven't given us a timeline.
All right, so I guess the question is we're starting our budgeting process for the 24-25 budget. I mean, we're at the very, we just got the calendar all squared away. We won't adopt a budget until the last week of June, right? And I think the mayor will agree, if we're gonna need to know if we wanna go change the way our strategy is, obviously by that time. So if the state, I mean, we're always going to try to go after state grants until Bradley County is 100% internet, right? But whether or not we can use the ARP money, the federal money, question.
So
And
if-
we want to get the money appropriated by the end of August per the rules, if there's still those rules that they gave us at the beginning, that it has to be, and then the projects have to be done by 2026.
So I obviously can't give you a definitive answer, but I would talk about what has happened up to this point, that you make your own deductions. So they did this last mile opportunity in 2023. That was the only funding opportunity that we're involved with the entire year. Didn't have anything to do with Bradley County, but just so you can get an idea of timelines, they told us that that money would be awarded at the end of this year. So 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago,
Yeah, we
okay.
were thinking January 24th to 26th. That was what they initially said.
And
They've changed that date, and now the date is telling us second half of February to the first half of March. And so they've already pushed it back by more than a month. And at this point, we still don't have a definitive timeline on when that award is going to be made. They're already talking about the new last mile opportunity this year. I'm hopeful that we'll have a defined answer by mid-March, but I can't promise you that. That's on last year's opportunity, which they let us apply on, I guess it was. Right. And so we applied in October, anticipated an award in middle to late January. Now they're telling us it's probably going to be late February, early March, and there's no definitive timeline. And so I
bet you they don't give you a reason why they're delays, do they?
I've not heard a good explanation. I know. And so we also thought that the feed money would come out on the heels of the award from the last mile stuff, because that was they have a limited staff who have to process all these applications. So if they get 100 applications across the state of Tennessee for all this money, then they've got to go in and essentially grade every single application. Obviously, that's a sizable endeavor. And so it makes sense in my mind why you wouldn't want to start one until the preceding one has already finished. And so even though they've not told me this, just based on my experience having done this for several years, I don't expect them to offer an application window for the BEAD money until the last mile money has at least been awarded and out of their system, out of the way. And so, we've got a little bit of information on the BEAD that just came out last week. We're looking at this 25-day public comment period. So, 25 days from now, that puts us in early to mid-March. And then they're still going to have to generate some sort of an application, put it on the portal, open it up for people to apply. So I'm thinking at best case scenario, probably won't have applications turned in until mid to late April. This, of course, is just a guess, but just based on the information we have with little instruction given from the state, I'm not seeing an application window close until the end of April at best.
Not to be too pessimistic, but I mean, it is what it is.
It is.
We'll say that.
Yeah.
So, Mayor, let me ask you this: with respects to our art money, is it true we got until August to approve it? We've already kind of said we want a certain amount of money in the bucket. That's what it's going to go for. It's kind of, do we go after the grants? If they never come to fruition and we miss their windows and stuff, we've decided, kind of pre-decided, that we were going to enter into the 50-50. That's what I call it. Program. What's your thoughts on that?
Based on what he's saying now, we're talking about the $1,100,000 match that we have budgeted for that grant.
You guys would match that amount, same amount.
If you were notified in late April or May, we'd be set. My suggestion is, they require, ARP requires us to have it, what's the word? In other words, we've got it budgeted. And if we know in April or May that that's not gonna work out, we switch it over to the 50/50 grant. But either way, we're covered with ARP because it is funded. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's
we said
budgeted.
money is earmarked for broadband. So that part's of it, it's just, do we go, the grant's not gonna come to fruition. So we're gonna do.
I guess the pertinent question, what he asked a moment ago, what is your deadline? Because if the deadline is June, they don't even close an application window until the end of April. I can almost guarantee you will not have an award in the month of June.
You won't have an award till fall at least,
Yeah,
probably.
because like
But-
last year, you only had 3 counties in that last mile, so the amount of applications is significantly less than what we're talking about here, because this is statewide $800 million. And so they only had to sort through applications for 3 select counties last year. They took those applications in October. Now here we are in early February and still don't have an award. Probably won't have an award for a couple or 3 more weeks at least. So count the months up on that one. It's only 3 counties, and then think, well, this one's every county and it's $800 million, which is a lot more money they're giving out. If they close the application window by the end of April, I don't expect an award, maybe even second half of this year. It might be January of next year before they get an award. Just the scale of this project compared to the other is a lot bigger, and the other one's taken 4 or 5 months already.
Well, to go back and finish my thought, we have to have, if August is the deadline, we have to have it, in my perspective, budgeted by then. It's budgeted now. If you get the right answer, it's gonna be after the budget's done, but it would be budgeted to be grant match. When the awarding comes out in the fall, in next budget year, all we would have to do is amend it from a grant match line to a 50/50 VEC line. You follow me? But either way, we have met the federal requirement of having the money allocated. You see what I'm saying? So it's allocated. We're concerned if we're gonna use it for a grant or for a match. So the real concern there is, if we went ahead and moved it to a match today, would that project move forward faster with you, even though we're gonna get minuscule amount of work done? You see what I'm saying?
Not as
It's
much.
$10 million to wait until next year with the match, or it would only be 2 million, 2.5 million to do a 50/50 with you, but we could do it quicker. Would it be enough quicker to make 2 million worth more than the 10 million would have been if we waited?
That is the $1 million question, and I don't know if I could answer it.
If you're not gonna move much faster than the state, why switch it? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not really about the movement. We can't begin building until the engineering's done. And look how long we've had the award on Bradley 1 and Bradley 2. They're just now finishing up the engineering. Do the engineering is a months-long process times. So I guess the question becomes, if we knew today what area you wanted to do a 50/50 match on, we could go ahead and farm that out to the engineers and let them start the design work on it. That would truncate the amount of time needed to complete the project, because the construction can't start until the engineering's finished.
I understand,
So,
but it would be such a small project compared to what the grant would be.
Yeah.
And that was the whole concept of waiting, to maximize
Right.
the
if you
money.
can use it on the grant, my advice would be use it on a grant, because it gets you more bang for your dollar.
As we've seen.
Right.
So-
50/50 is great if that's your only alternative, but if you get the grant match 80/20, and you're
Then yeah,
getting
we're
more
doing-
homes that way, and that's ultimately our objective.
The 20 is 10/10.
We're doing $1 million, you're doing $1 million, it's a $20 million project.
Yeah.
And so the match, that's why I still feel like it's worth waiting and still hoping, even though it's starting to get, like Mylan's referring to, and we're getting antsy about it. But it's still worth it, because I would rather have a $20 million project a year or so from now as a $2 million project sooner than that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at on it. I suggest leaving it budgeted like it is as a grant match.
We will.
And we'll follow you. You keep us informed on what happens, but if, when they do an award and we don't get awarded, then right then we need to switch for sure. But I think it's still worth waiting until that award date, if it's in the next year, you know.
I don't disagree with that. I think it's,
So that'll be our plan.
I think it's the most prudent thing to do.
Well, while I'm on that, to make sure I understand, because I don't understand your numbers and all that you threw out a while ago. The first grant that is awarded, that you're working on, that we have a $779,000 match for it, and I assume you do too. How much finished is that one, did you say?
There were actually 2 awards last year. Bradley, we call Bradley 01, which is on the western half of the county, White Oak area. Bradley 02, which is on the eastern half over around Chatta Valley.
That was all that was 2 grant awards, and
Yes.
that's 779. Our match is for both of those, right?
That sounds right.
All right, where are they then?
So the one over in East Bradley around Chatta Valley was divided into 3 zones of service, each one about 1/3 of the scope of the project. 2 of those 3 are completely finished, and people are connected and using the internet today. We got 1 zone left, the one right there at the golf course, that is still in engineering. They haven't begun.
You told us all that, but I wasn't sure if I was following the grant with you.
Yeah.
Okay, the one on the other side,
The one on the other side, we have finished 1 zone out of 4. It's the one where TDOT held us up on Mahan Gap and wouldn't let us finish the work.
right, I got
But
you.
they didn't, they didn't stop us from working. They just truncated our workday, which slowed the project. It will be finished approximately a week from now. Does that sound about right?
So those are moving fairly quick.
Yeah.
When do you foresee the 779,000 being requested from us?
So we won't ask for that until construction is completely.
That's last dollar, right?
Yes.
In other words, you're taking theirs and using it now, then I assume you'll use yours, and then you'll say, hey, we need yours now,
Well,
right?
so essentially the way that it works, BC pays for it 100% out of pocket. As we're working, we turn in invoices to the state. They'll look at those invoices and approve them, and then reimburse us for what we've done. But we won't ask you for your money until it's completely finished. So the state reimburses us little by little as we turn in invoices. But we'll finish the entire project before we ask you guys to reimburse. So we're essentially paying for the whole project up front, and then the state will
Getting
reimburse
reimbursed.
us. And you guys will
Okay.
reimburse
And that'll
us.
probably be when then?
I'm going to say probably,
Next budget, 24.
yeah, it will be within the next, I would think, 12 months. That sound reasonable?
Okay.
'Cause-
So we leave that one budgeted just like it is, waiting on the request, and we leave the other line budgeted as is, waiting on a award.
Yeah, Chatta Valley, I would expect it to be done this year because it's 2/3 finished already, and once they start the construction over there, it'll go pretty quick.
So you would request part of what we have budgeted for you at that time?
Yeah, because it is separate, because that's its
Right.
own grant. So when that one's completely done, they would ask for that part, our county.
Just explain it to us when you request it. You're calling it 2 grants. We have it down as one amount, so help, All right.
And that might not even be a problem. They may be willing to wait until both are done if that
Well,
works.
I don't care. I'll question it when it comes in if I'm not understanding what you're requesting it for. All right, now on the 50-50 match. Those I assume are progressing, and I don't remember which one of the zones you were explaining it about, but we've got 2 million there. When do you foresee starting to request our 50% of those?
Well, also, it would be when we got finished with the project. So they are about to start first zone of construction in that South Bradley 50-50. The engineering on the first zone will be done in about a week. We're gonna put it out to bid to find a contractor to come in and install. So they'll start the first zone. There's three total zones. The second and third zone in that South Bradley area should be done by the end of the month with the engineering part, at which point we'll put those out for bid. And so by the end of February, we expect to have all 3 out for bid for construction. So
Gotcha.
construction should start late March, early May, if everything goes well.
Summer.
South part of Bradley? I'm looking over here, it's like,
So when you make those requests to us, make sure you refer to this is $100,000 of the 779,000 match that you have, or this is 100,000 of the 2 million 50-50 match that you have, so that I can match it with the way I have it, because my budget's a little different than yours. But on the other thing, then I suggest we give it another year, and if the word comes out with a grant, we've got the match sitting there, and if it doesn't come out right, we switch it over.
there you go.
Is that that make sense with everybody as
Yeah.
far as,
That's kind of what, after he, that's kind of what I was thinking. Just didn't want anything to sneak up on us and like, oh, so.
I wish I could give you a better, more definitive timeline, but at this point, we've still not got that information from the state. We can only,
Well, you're dealing with the state.
yeah, you can only have conjecture on what might happen. Based on my experience, I frankly don't expect to have an award on this $813 million opportunity probably in 2024. I'm thinking at best it might be November, December timeline, at which point you're right in the middle of the holiday season. There's not going to be a lot of movement on that, even if they give you an award in November. It would be next 2025 before we potentially could start on something.
I agree, Mayor. So that kind of gives us a little direction on what we need to do. The main thing I like, what I like hearing is all the progress that's being made. We're either in engineering, or in construction, or you've gotten people sign up. So there's inertia out there. There's things going on, and I think that's what our constituents, what our citizens are looking for. Is, I mean, ultimately, much broadband, internet, whatever you want to call it, access available to all our citizens, should they choose to sign up. It's just, we all knew that it was going to take years because of demand on the supplies, engineering, all that kind of stuff. So,
People,
from what you guys are doing out there,
people,
the 1800, stuff like that, what you guys are doing, you guys are doing, I mean, the citizens of Bradley County should see something tangible they can, see and touch. And we obviously got people signing up now, surfing the net.
even the people who haven't had the opportunity to sign up yet, the very first thing VC has to do before construction starts, in between engineering and the start of construction, we go out and do inspection on all of our utility poles, make sure that they're not rotted and need to be replaced, or if they're not tall enough to accommodate additional cables in that communication space, we put in taller poles. We don't just do that for us, we're doing it for Charter as well. They're working on all these projects, and they, in some places, are attaching to our poles. They have some poles of their own. They do the same thing. So they go out and do this make-ready work where they'll look at their poles and they'll identify VC poles that perhaps are not tall enough, and we'll go out and switch those poles. So the people who are not yet connected, even though they're not connected, will see activity in their area, especially when our engineering part gets done, and they've already been seeing a lot of it from Charter as well.
Yeah. And Cleveland Utility, rep from Cleveland Utilities was invited. Their schedule conflict, but I saw him the other day. Cleveland Utilities has got projects going on as well with their backbone and all that kind of stuff. So that's usually the city for the most part. So things are happening, things are moving. That's the main thing that I think the commission is looking for. Progress. We're not just sitting there treading water, moving forward.
In the summer months, I would expect you to see a lot more activity.
Yeah, I guess weather's also been an issue.
Weather has hurt, but just the point that we're at with finishing up all the engineering pretty much simultaneously, you'll start to see a lot more construction afterwards.
Well, I was hoping to get an update, a little bit more detail.
I can give you the update. 98 built out in city.
Yeah.
So you're there. There. Done.
But then
Underserved.
that's the terminology sometimes is what I think you got to capture or you got to get your hands on is unserved versus whether or not you have it or not. Because like we've chatted about before, there are certain areas where they've deemed it quote unquote served, but yet the household doesn't have internet because for whatever reason. I mean,
Well,
there's those little pockets of people that call us like when I call the ISP, they said I got to fund the router and all that kind of stuff, but yet on the map or on the document it says that they're served. So it's a terminology thing, really.
well, it's the way that served.
Right, yeah.
As
And
being served.
I've always thought that was kind of,
Wait, I don't know.
it's not accurate
Well,
And,
that also,
and people get frustrated with that.
talking about hardwired in. Hardwired. Satellite. On that Starlink. Knocks out. That's what. Starlink. Like, work. That's it. So,
Well,
I know. Already. I don't know. I don't. They're the app on last also public comment about a week.
of course.
And I have not heard another thing about that since, but I physically saw the map. Looked complete, but apparently there was a problem with it. Took it down.
Well, I'll wrap us up. I appreciate you guys, your time. Yeah, please. I'm sorry.
Question.
Yeah.
Be valuable to have some sort of metric developed on where we are, where we have been, where we are now. That is, the process started. A lot of people didn't have broadband. Served, actually. We know how many people at that point not now are actually served, able to be. What is our goal? You said our goal is 100%
Well,
for Bradley County.
I'm in dreamland.
Yeah,
So,
of course, but want to have as much possible coverage. Right?
I agree.
We need a metric to say, okay, are we 20% there? There where we want to be?
and
How far have we come?
to your point, we chatted with Wayne about months ago on updating our maps. I don't know if you ever got the data talked about that.
Talked to engineering about it. They'd be happy to share it, but don't have it in a format that's shareable right now.
Oh.
So I trust that they're working on it. I've not heard any more about that. They told me when it was ready that they would reach out to you.
So we're kind of getting. I'm visual, so I wanted a map that kind of answered those questions. Yes, like where were we in 2019 pre-COVID, and obviously, and where we. I mean, I had Lori put that map up because I was going to have Walt kind of tell us where his stuff was. But I mean, what I gathered from you guys is the northeast part of Chatham Valley, Tasso Road over there. I mean, from the river down to
I
the line,
wouldn't say
no?
from the river. I was up in Charleston.
Charleston,
I
and
think
then
you guys are
then,
packing that right now.
then over on
perhaps.
the west side, Hopewell Elementary, kind of as you head
Yes.
towards the line a little bit.
By the end of the year, I would say the vast majority of that.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to your point.
served.
And then McDonald is obviously heading into Collegedale, that area that you guys are working on.
Yes.
That,
Ours, not currently.
so the northeast, the northwest, and the southwest have ongoing projects at different stages of the project going on. Now, our good friends over in the southeast part of Bradley County talk to us.
I'm just saying, 2-3 years ago, never.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to have
How
that.
many homes not served, not able to?
You
How
guys
many
have those
tried?
numbers, right? I mean, before Bradley 01, 02, all that, you had a certain number. Now you've already got some subscribers. So we'll get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We,
Camelot was back in, what, 14, 15?
2018. So we
That was the first grant.
we
right.
actually we paid for that one out of pocket. Proof of concept.
Whenever VEC started, process,
We've kept, as far as VC is concerned, we've kept a spreadsheet that has single project, how many homes were passed and how many subscribers have taken it homes since we started our relation back in.
Are your numbers also available at broad levels? I know you guys are. Yeah, but you have you gave some numbers here that we can. Yeah. Yeah, so, do the best we can. All right. That's kind of what I was hoping for today, kind of what you guys have been able to accomplish. And, we want to get kind of an idea, some directions on the funding to make sure we use the money correctly, because it's time's coming up on the art money and those deadlines. Adam, do you want to chat a little bit about what you and I talked about with kind of like post art money and Thrive and all that, or is it immature? Okay. All right. There's other, you've heard of Thrive, what they're doing, and their internet, but they're more looking at Southeast Tennessee, North Alabama, North Georgia as a whole, stuff like that. All right. So that kind of gives us an update on what's going on, direction on, timeline with the funding. Anything else? I won't call another ad hoc committee meeting until, there's something tangible, something that we, kind of need to get together on. But thank you guys very much for your time. I appreciate your coming in today.